So I was driving in my soul-sucking job this morning like I've been doing for the last 25 years when it dawned on me. Holy sh**, I'm literally a prisoner to my own job. When the heck did this happen? I always considered myself a maverick, and I would never be a slave to the almighty paycheck, but here I am. Well, this just sucks. But it was during this morbid epiphany that I realized I was also duped by a movie that had a hidden plot that while watching it in my youth, I had completely missed. What movie is this? Well, if you grew up in the 80s, this film was an absolute favorite of the substitute teacher. No, it's not The Wizard of Oz. Hello, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Ah, yes, one of the original cult classics that, while based on the book Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, changed its name to Willy Wonka so Quaker Oats Company could sell Wonka bars. Corporations. But I digress. Let's take a look in the hidden horror that is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. We are greeted in the opening with a song titled The Candyman, where you see a bunch of young kids getting off school and loading themselves up with sugar, which obviously ruins their dinner and irritates the out of their parents. As a parent today, this now pisses me off. Anyways, at the end of the song, we're introduced to little Charlie Bucket, looking through a window, longing to be part of his spoiled little bastard friends, but he has to go get to his newspaper delivery job. Oh yeah, and Charlie is obviously poor. Charlie then proceeds to get to work, only to stop and look through the gates of the Wonka factory. It's here that we get our first ominous warning. A tinker approaches Charlie and tells him not to go hunting for fear of little men, points to the factory and says,
"Nobody ever goes in."
Okay, what did the crusty old guy mean? I know it's part of a poem that warns that fair folk can be quite dangerous, but he was telling Charlie to stay away from the factory, or was it just simply the mystique that he never sees anyone enter and leave? I mean, maybe both, but alright, let's keep moving. Charlie arrives home and we see that he has all four of his grandparents living with him, and only Charlie and his mother are able to support the household as the old farts are all bedridden. As a kid, I found this interesting, but as an adult, I would be more like, I'm not dead! Now don't get me wrong, I don't have an issue taking care of my aging parents, but when they outnumber the rest of the household, well, Charlie's mom should know what to do. The important part of this scene is that we are introduced to Charlie's grandpa Joe, who obviously has a special bond with Charlie. Having been Charlie's first payday on the job, he gleams with pride about being able to provide more for the family. Later in the evening, we can catch Charlie having a quiet conversation with his grandpa Joe, discussing the events that Charlie had in front of the Wonka factory. It's here that Grandpa Joe introduces a potential villain only known as Slugworth. Apparently, Slugworth tried to steal Wonka's recipes, and as a result, Wonka sealed the factory and was never seen again, but the factory continued to pump out candy. Grandpa Joe tells this story as if it was an old wives' tale. We don't know any more details, only that there is something more to the story than what is being told. To me, this sounds like another cloaked threat, warning potential outsiders of the dangers that could come from this factory. But then again, I'm just a duck, so what do I know? In the next scene, we find out that Willy Wonka has announced to the world that he is finally opening his factory to the public. However, only a select few will be given permission via a golden ticket that can only be found in Wonka bars. This in turn sets off a worldwide buying frenzy to buy as many Wonka bars as possible in hopes of landing one of the 5 possible golden tickets. Charlie, being the poor sap that he is, quickly realizes he's out of luck. The question I wonder today is, what were Wonka's motivations? Did he really just want to sell Wonka bars? It sounded like he never left the factory, so this was all about a cash grab? Or was there something more nefarious at play? At this point, we don't know, but golden tickets and chocolate candy bars looks to me like he's specifically targeting children. The first kid to find a ticket in a Wonka bar is Augustus Gloop, a plump kid from Germany that seems to enjoy his food.
It's funny because he's fat.
The second kid to find a golden ticket is Veruca Salt, a complete and total spoiled little The next ticket is found by Violet Beauregard, a girl who never stops chewing gum.
Instead of chewing gum, chew bacon.
The fourth kid to find a ticket is Mike TV, a young boy that cannot wait to be a gun owner. While I can appreciate anyone that likes the Second Amendment, Mike seems a little eager to shoot someone in real life. And finally, we have the fifth ticket that was found by Pablo Escobar in Paraguay or Colombia, or who gives a Well, Charlie started the contest like it ended, a loser.
But wait! There's more!
Hold on a second. It turns out the fifth ticket was a fraud. And as luck would have it, Charlie, the lovable, depressing future poster child for Prozac, has found the fifth ticket. Charlie immediately begins to run home, doing his best to avoid an older, stronger, faster adult simply snatching the ticket with minimal effort from his hand and run.
That's amazing.
So as Charlie beelines it home, he's stopped by some dude that has been appearing at the discovery of every ticket that has been found, as if he knows where each ticket is located. The dude with the obvious scar on his face introduces himself as Slugworth. He proceeds to tell Charlie if he steals a fruit roll-up or something from Wonka, he'll give him 100,000 pesos.
100,000 pesos?
We do not have 100,000 pesos.
Charlie brushes off Slugworth and heads home where he shares the good fortune with his family. Grandpa Joe doesn't initially believe Charlie, but upon inspection of the ticket, he relents and congratulates the young boy. Charlie then asks good old Joe to accompany him to visit the factory. Well, Grandpa Joe's been stricken in bed for 20 years. What the is he gonna do? He can't just get up and holy dog balls! This not only hops right out of bed, but the mother starts dancing and prancing around like a hooker that just OD'd on coke! Oh god, the thing that bugs me with this scene is that Charlie's mother has been working her ass off taking care of these wretched old turds for who knows how many years, and lazy Grandpa Joe has been faking it like a little Oh man, come the on, Joe! Screw you! I hope you die of cancer! Where were we? Right. So all the kids found tickets and end up at the factory, which I still find amazing that there wasn't some weirdo there trying to infiltrate. Wait a minute. If Slugworth was this evil criminal that tried to steal from Wonka, then why the hell didn't Wonka recognize him at the gate? You can see him right there. He has direct view of Slugworth, but we get no reaction whatsoever. I don't know about you, but I remember exactly what a former friend looks like 20 years after he tried to steal from me. Yes, I'm talking about you, Jim. Go yourself. Oh yeah. Make sure to like and subscribe. This way I can continue to bring more of this horrible content.
I sure as hell will.
Alright, so Wonka ushers in the ticket holders one by one. He makes a fat joke about Augustus, which I have to say is in progress grand. Those of us that grew up watching this movie always identified Augustus Gloop as the quintessential fat kid from the Wonka movie. Yet today, we'd probably celebrate Augustus as the perfect example of the pinnacle of peak health and wellness. Boy, we live in great times. Now, once the motley crew of ticket holders enter the building, things start to get interesting. Wonka has all the kiddos sign some sort of contract. What's in it? We don't know. What could these kids be signing away? No clue. All we do know is that Violet's dad hit it on the nose when he said,
Don't talk to me about contracts, Wonka. I use them myself. They're strictly for suckers.
sign away your life, kids.
What could go wrong?
All right, kids all sign the indenture. It's time to enter the Thunderdome. I mean, Chocolate Factory. And it's here where we're first introduced to the Oompa Loompas, a race of orange-skinned, green-haired shorties that appear to be doing all the backbreaking work for Wonka's candy empire. It's fascinating to see that they don't even acknowledge the presence of outsiders, despite the factory being sealed from foreign visitors for years. It just seems strange. When someone new comes into my office, it seems like every one of my employees practically gawks at them. God help them if the new visitor is remotely attractive, but not here. It's more like the Borg from Star Trek. They just ignore you unless you present yourself as a threat. Anyways, the fat German kid starts drinking from the chocolate river, and if you've ever seen fat people squatting, they're like bowling balls for stability. So Augustus sure as shit pulls his Happy Meal into the river. Chubby Adolf then gets stuck in one of the pipes and is shot into another room. Wonka calls for an Oompa Loompa to escort Dump Truck's mom to her son, and we never see them again. Next up, Wonka takes the cast of characters to the inventing room, but before that, the whole crew must take a boat ride. People have theorized what the boat ride really meant over the years. Some say, dude, it was the 70s. Just take the drugs and move on. Others say it was designed to subdue the id. But I agree with those that say that this was some sort of security feature to prevent possible intruders. Either way, it looks fun. But once in the inventing room, Wonka introduces the never-ending gobstopper that, of course, Slugworth would do anything to get his hands on. All the kids are given one on the promise that they wouldn't share with anyone else. More on this later. Well, it's in this room that where, despite Wonka's strong objections, the Juicy Fruit Girl grabs some new gum invention, throws it in her mouth, and swells up to a big round blueberry. Once again, Wonka summons his hench Oompa Loompas, and they roll Violet away with her father in tow, never to be seen again.
That's two.
In the next room, Wonka shows off his goofy guests a new drink that apparently will make you fly. But don't drink it because it's too powerful, so what happens next? Well, as soon as the bulk of the group departs, Charlie's degenerate grandfather thinks it would be cool to take a drink. Kinda makes sense. Grandpa Joe can't make it an hour before needing a hit of the firewater. Anyways, they both take a swig and start flying around. The only thing I don't like about this scene was that old Grandpa Joe and Charlie came close to being chopped up by a fan in the ceiling, but that goddamn Grandpa Joe figured out how to get down and they survive. You, Grandpa Joe. I wish you would just shit bed. Charlie and Joe catch up with the group just in time to see the little Baruka throwing a hissy fit. She prances around, knocking over, making a mess, and just being a spoiled brat. She concludes her rant by standing on the egg-dicator, and obviously it calls her a 304 and sends her to start her OnlyFans account. And go figure, her simp dad chases after her to do the filming. At this point, we're now down to 2 kiddos left. And what do we have next?
That's 3.
Wonkavision. Yeah, there you go. Something that a kid named Mike TV won't get obsessed about. What I find interesting about this movie so far is that we have yet to see any real production facilities that actually make the chocolate. Why is that? Wonka hiding something? He wants to continuously jingle shiny keys in front of you and never take you to actually look at the car. I've got all this crazy wacky stuff, but there's nothing to see behind the closed doors. Whatever. So of course Mike gets himself into trouble, but what I find interesting is that it's almost like Wonka wanted him to do it. No one stops him, and it looks like the Oompa Loompas were assisting Mike with the shenanigans. I guess Wonka is actually really working on transporter technology.
4.
Well, that's it. We're now just left with Charlie and his bag Grandpa Joe. Man, I really hate that guy. Fuck you, Joe. Anyways, Wonka escorts Charlie and Joe back to the lobby and tells them to fuck off. Naturally, Joe gets irritated, the that he is, and starts to nag Wonka about all the alleged chocolate winning, to which Wonka points out they violated the contract Charlie signed. Well, sorry, Joe, you bust a deal, you spin the wheel. Head. Of course, this turns out to be a purity test, and Wonka smiles and tells Charlie that he won, and everything is all shits and giggles, and it's here where the plans start to become relevant. All this time, Willy Wonka has promoted this adventure as a contest to win fabulous prizes, when it's actually something more sinister. The moment Charlie passed the purity test, Wonka immediately apologizes to Charlie. Why? Charlie was the one that f***ed up when he shouldn't have. Actually, it was that off Joe, but let's not get sidetracked. So we're reintroduced to Slugworth, but apparently he's not Slugworth, but rather an employee of Wonka's that's been setting up the purity test from the beginning. The question I have is, did his job include more than just around with the kids, or was he really researching the ticket winners to predetermine their ultimate fates? Think about it. All the rooms that the kids had visited had nothing to do with candy, but rather catered towards their deeper sinning behaviors. Augustus was tempted by gluttony on the chocolate river. Violet was tempted by being the best with her gum chewing, thus making it a matter of pride that she only had the newest and best available flavors. Veruca wanted everything now, including the world, and her ultimate greed led to her demise. Mike TV was envious with all he saw on television and would do anything to achieve his goal, including shrinking him down to size. Charlie, on the other hand, never had a room catered to him specifically. Sure, he ran afoul with the fizzy lifting drinks, but I still blame that dirtbag Joe. So what does this mean exactly? It means the fix was in from the beginning, just like a Mr. Beast video. When each ticket was found, Wonka deployed Slugworth to investigate the kid, and based on his report, Wonka would craft the experience accordingly. Once Charlie was discovered, Wonka knew he found the perfect victim. I believe that Wonka is trapped in his factory and a slave to the candy-making process. Remember the quote from the Tinker at the beginning?
Nobody ever comes out.
Yes, Wonka is being held captive by his little orange and green henchmen, and everything is being coordinated through Slugworth. He is a prisoner to his own enterprise, trapped and unable to escape. Remember what that bag-ass Grandpa Joe said to Charlie, that something happened years ago with Slugworth and Wonka, and they closed the doors? I'm willing to bet that this was a foiled escape plan attempted by Wonka, and the resulting punishment was to sequester Wonka permanently. Now, during the years that followed, Wonka had to keep up his appearance, hence the candy making resumed, but Wonka still wanted out. However, Wonka wasn't stupid. Even he knew that all criminal and legit ventures must have a front man, and these front men can be willing or unwilling participants. But a willing volunteer would make that process so much easier. So why not create a competition of sorts to seek out a willing victim, search for someone desperate to change their lifestyle, and would do nearly anything to achieve some amount of success. Also, this volunteer cannot be too smart, otherwise they'll sniff out the scam before you have a chance to fully implement your plan. Therefore, wouldn't a child make sense? Most adults are naturally suspicious, having been jaded by one thing or another in their life. A child is simple, lacks the knowledge and wisdom, and has purity that is not yet tainted by the world. Wonka even admits this to Charlie on the Wonkavator. But even when Wonka confesses that he's looking for someone to replace him, Charlie just smiles like a poor little puppy, completely unaware of the servitude he just volunteered for. A lifetime of grueling work cut off from the outside world, only to someday search for another kid stupid enough to fall for your trickery. Wonka is a con man that in the end duped Charlie to gain his freedom. And you can see it on his face that there is no remorse, only a giddy excitement that his nightmare is now over. You know, there is a part of you that wants to feel sorry for Wonka, but he targeted kids specifically. And in my mind, that makes this motherfucker a predator. I am sorry, Charlie, but you got swindled. And hopefully by the time you realized you were suckered, you'll be able to find a better exit plan than Wonka. Maybe then you can hunt his ass down and shoot him. But as for Grandpa Joe...
You can go to hell.
Hey, thank you for watching. We hope you understand this is just satire, and we have a good time doing it. If what you saw here made you happy, please hit the like and subscribe button. And if you didn't like what you saw here, please hit the like and subscribe button, because it'd make me happy. Thanks for watching. Now please, just leave me alone.